Cryotherapy is amazing. Just that exposure first thing in the morning when you just really, that's the last thing that you would ever want to do. And you just step in that chamber of negative 170 degrees Fahrenheit. You turn into the superhuman because, hey, you're exposing yourself to something that really sucks first thing in the morning. And you know that whatever comes for the rest of the day is probably likely going to be less unpleasant than that that first experience of the day.
Welcome to the Superhuman Life. I'm your host, Frank Rich, and this is the only podcast in the world dedicated to helping men break free from the shackles of addiction through the power of faith and fitness. It is our goal with every episode to help you take back control and rebuild your body, mind, and spirit. And we do so by bringing you real and raw conversations with people just like you, aiming to find their place in this world while dealing with the everyday struggles and battles that we all face. Now, it is my belief that we were all created for a specific purpose. And if we can harness that belief or faith, then take control of our mind and body or fitness, then we can ultimately create the life that we've always dreamed about, our own superhuman life. I want to let you know how grateful and blessed I am to have you here with me today. Let's get on to today's show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Superhuman Life. As always, I'm your host, Frank Rich, and guys, I just got to tell you how incredibly grateful and excited I am to have you here with me today. You know, it's one of our core fundamental beliefs here at the Superhuman Life that you were put on this earth for a very specific purpose. And that's where we talk about, you know, the importance of having faith, the importance of a spiritual component to our life. You know, just not believing that, you know, we're just randomly floating through space, randomly floating through the universe, that there's a divine purpose to our lives. So that's one of the core fundamental beliefs that we talk about and really try to bring guests on to further enlighten us, to further share with us their experiences, their work. The second component of the superhuman life, the second aspect of ultimately creating your superhuman life, is the physical part of it. It's utilizing the tools, it's utilizing the latest research, the science that's out there to take your body, to take your mind, to take your performance to the next level. And that's really what today's podcast, what today's episode is all about. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time with updates and sharing you guys. I want to get into today's conversation. My guest is somebody that I just recently got connected with. And man, what an incredible connection, what an incredible relationship I feel that this is going to evolve into. We just see things very similar in so many ways. And he's somebody that I know is going to challenge me. He's going to force me to lift myself up. He's going to force me to look at where can I optimize, where can I find gaps in my routine, find gaps in my performance, find gaps in my nutrition. So I'm incredibly excited to share our guest with you here today. For those of you that are familiar with him, before I give you his name, I'm going to apologize for butchering it, but we're going to call him AJ. So we will refer to him outside of the one time where I introduce his name as AJ. But my guest today is none other than Aurimas Juodka. Aurimas, or AJ, as we're going to refer to him, is a human optimization and certified high-performance coach. He's a NLP master practitioner, NSCA certified strength and conditioning specialist, precision nutrition certified coach, and the founder of Human Optimize, which is a health and performance consulting company. After getting his BS in civil engineering and spending some time in the military, he found himself at a crossroads. And we get into this a little bit. You know, how did he get into this biohacking world? How did he get into this high-performance coaching world? But ultimately, he was sitting there, much like my story, you know, working in corporate America, finding yourself, spending your days not focused on the job at hand, but really diving deeper into, he was intrigued by this world of nutrition, this world of training. And now he's turned his life around for the last 7 years, has really been helping people all over the world fully optimize, fully maximize their greatest potential. So that's what we're getting into today's conversation. We're talking sleep performance habits. We're talking the importance of training and how to fully optimize and maximize your training with a minimal effective dose. That's what I love most about AJ is he teaches this concept, the minimal effective dose, just the bare minimum to get the maximum goals. We talk about meditation. AJ shares with us a recent milestone that he hit. So you guys stay tuned to hear what that milestone is. But guys, this is all about biohacking. This is all about optimizing your potential as a human, optimizing your potential here this one life that you've been given, and ultimately, like we like to say here, helping you guys become the men and women that you were created to be. So without further ado, guys, let's get into today's conversation with my fellow brother, AJ from Human Optimized, helping you get to the next level in your life. God bless you guys. Hope you enjoy the conversation. AJ, my brother, welcome to the Superhuman Life.
What's happening? Thank you for having me.
We're really excited, man. I can tell you're a man that's gonna bring the energy here today. You know, as you can see, I'm standing up. The listeners are used to me bringing the fire, but you're walking on a treadmill here. So I think the first thing I want to ask, just to kind of kick it off here, is how does a 6'7" Lithuanian biohacker end up living in Bali? Tell us that story and what it's been like out there here.
Yeah, that was quite a journey, brother. All right, so here we go. So I was born and raised in Lithuania. My whole life I was there, and then I joined the military. And one of the things that I was going to do, I was going to go to Afghanistan when I was 18. That was a crazy idea that popped into my head. Probably watched too many war movies or something like that.
Like a goal, like you wanted to go, like you had a dream to go to Afghanistan.
I was obsessed, man. I was obsessed. I really want to go. I really want to do this. I want to serve my country, all of that jazz, you know. And then ended up getting selected to go, and I was about 2 weeks away from deployment, and my platoon commander, a leader of my company, sat me down and started asking me questions. He was one of those leaders who actually really benefited my journey. He asked some right and great questions. And ultimately, I ended up not going to Afghanistan because he asked those great questions. And it directed me to a completely opposite direction. So I joined the military academy, an officer school in Lithuania, and that gave me an opportunity to study in the States. Again, it was like a military exchange program. So I ended up going to the United States Coast Guard Academy and studied there for 4 years and served in the U.S. military. And after that, I just transitioned into a civilian career with civil engineering, and I was really unfulfilled. I was quite frankly bored. You know, I found myself consuming nutrition. During the civil engineering coursework, I found myself, just ravaging nutritional biochemistry and looking into exercise science and all the good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So then, ultimately, I moved to Bangkok, just out of nowhere. Again, it was just one of those things. It's like I'm moving to Thailand. I volunteered there for a year, and then I slowly but surely transitioned into the fitness and wellness scene there in Bangkok, and started consulting companies with more than just fitness and nutrition. And then, man, Bali was just one of those things my ex-girlfriend convinced me to go back there. I was not impressed with the island the first time I visited, and she convinced me to go back, and I fell in love with it, man. It just everything checked all the boxes for me. Everything that I could ever want was there, and I was just okay. That's it. I went between like 2017 and 2019. I went there 6 or 7 times, and then I realized I have to reevaluate my life choices. So next thing I knew, I found this amazing cliffside retreat center where now a business partner of mine owns, and we just hit it off and found so many commonalities and started working together. So that's the story. That's
fascinating, fascinating, man. And just excited to dive into more of the biohacking and what's really led you to Human Optimize, your company and all the coaching that you're doing. I resonate so much with a part of that story there where you were talking about being in the civil engineering, like kind of post the military, like great job, obviously a dream job for so many people, well paying, obviously there's some value being given out to the world, but you caught yourself kind of in this other world, like going deep into nutrition. I'm thinking back in my life, early 2007, 2008, I was working in the corporate world. I was an executive recruiter, very successful, corporate position, had great financial, career. But I caught myself at that point, like spending more of my day at my desk, writing workout programs and nutrition plans for the coworkers in the office. And it was one of those aha moments, like, am I going to stay here working in this cubicle, sitting at the desk for the rest of my life? Or am I going to try this entrepreneurship thing that I'd always kind of knew was there for me? But I get that, you know, sometimes we need to be able to see outside of our own surroundings here. You know, you talked about a question that one of your military leaders said to you that kind of got the wheels spinning a little bit. What did he ask you that really got the ball rolling there?
Yeah, so the question was, what the hell are you doing here? And I just kind of looked at him. Come again? He's like, what do you mean? I'm here to serve my country. All the the spiel that you're indoctrinated to respond with, and then he stopped, looked at me once again. He looked at my file, looked at me, and said it again. No, seriously, what the hell are you doing here? And then it kind of hit me that, hey, I have so many more options, so many different opportunities and directions to take in life. So he was one of those, because again, I grew up in Lithuania. It was pretty, I mean, we lived in a survival mode. The whole life, everybody's trying to screw each other over. It wasn't a very conducive environment for growth per se. So that was something that, fortunately, I was not taught to dream big. I mean, my parents had jobs, 9-to-5s, which again, nothing against that. They were teachers. They were, it's an amazing thing to do. However, it was just, I couldn't learn stuff from them. I couldn't learn the world and opportunities from them because simply they didn't have that knowledge. It's like when my friend of mine says, he says, hey, I'm not going to teach you how to build ice sculptures because I've never done that, So that's the same thing. It's like you go to a person who actually has that knowledge, has that, is ahead of you in where you want to go. One of the things, man, what you said about your corporate work, corporate career, and you writing nutrition programs for your coworkers, that was the exact same thing. My fellow military service members, I was helping them out with nutrition. I was helping them out with exercise because back in the day, that was one of those things, man. When I joined the military, I started changing my physiology because I was, I don't know how deeply you did your research, but I was born prematurely. I had kidney stones when I was 13.
Around 13, right? Yeah. I went pretty deep. Yeah, I was around 13, right?
Yeah. And I had asthma. I was on antibiotics for 5 years straight. All that, just crazy, man. So ultimately, transforming my body was my entry point to that human optimization component. And then once it didn't take that long. That's the thing. Once you actually change your lifestyle, make those adjustments, and I had a lot of motivation, quite frankly. I just wanted to reverse all that damage that I've done throughout the years, and I wanted to reverse it. I wanted to perform. I was a collegiate, started playing basketball in college, started boxing in college. So I wanted to perform. And then one thing led to another, and just here we are.
Yeah. No, you're, incredibly, well built, man. I think 6'7", around 250, 255. You talked about, the military. I know you spent some time in boxing. So growing up, were you an active athlete? Like was sports, athletics something you excelled at as you were growing up?
I was okay. The thing was, man, I was swimming. I was a swimmer. So I was very lanky and skinny, kind of longish child. I wasn't that tall, to be honest. I was simply so the reason why I wasn't that good was because I was sick most of the time. I was trying to battle all these childhood diseases that children are not supposed to have, and at the same time trying to do the whole schooling thing and then try sports because that's what other kids did. But I just didn't have the capacity to upkeep it.
Yeah. What was the conversation growing up around some of your illness? I mean, was this something that the rest of your family was struggling with their health and you kind of saw it like, this is everybody around me is sick? Or is it kind of an outlier for you and people couldn't really figure out. So yeah, how was that kind of, what was the conversation between you and the family and doctors, trying to figure out like, why is this young kid, dealing with all these health issues?
Yeah, that's what was happening. It was just one of those things that I just accepted. Hey, I'm always sick. There's constantly something happening, and it's a funny thing because my dad, at some point after I think that those kidney stones, there was a wake up moment for him, that hey, I have to do something because clearly this is not, whatever they're doing is not working. My immune system was shot. I stopped growing, even though in elementary school I was a pretty tall kid. The whole puberty thing was delayed significantly. So he just kind of said, "Fuck this." I was like, "We're not taking antibiotics anymore. Let's actually see if we can do without that, because clearly this is not helping you." And so he had me exercising with him, stretching with him, going for runs with him, because he's pretty active himself. And the only thing that I wasn't able to overcome was my allergies. Everything else kind of just went. And now looking back on it, I'm so freaking grateful. I was resisting this whole thing, actually, when dads sometimes force their kids to do stuff. So, but I'm super, super grateful for him to take that step, because it was that transition, really.
Got it. Yeah. So what was the first, 6 months, the first year of you kind of going all into this health and fitness? Obviously we can look back now. I mean, one of the world's leading biohackers, incredible, coaching business and platform, helping people all over the world. But obviously, there's been a journey to get you from that kid that's kind of there, civil engineering, kind of exploring the nutrition and exercise science. So yeah, what was some of kind of the early kind of aha moments for you in those first, 6 months to a year of your own physical transformation?
Man, I'm an experimenter. I'm never one of those people who just read something and then repeats after reading. I'm the person who's not going to read the book, just read a book about how to run a marathon. I'm the one who's going to run it as well. So when it came to just figuring stuff out, I ultimately went to people who were doing better than me, who were ahead of me, taught me what they knew, and then I researched a lot. So first 6 months, actually, man, I put on nearly 50 pounds of muscle when I went to college. It was just, my body just responded to uh, weight training. It responded to better nutrition than I was eating, and I just blew up. So first 6 months, I gained 50 pounds, and then that was my body transformation. I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. I'm in love with this. And then at one point, actually, I just remember this was a turning point for me in nutrition when I was playing basketball my freshman year. So, and I remember the night before our game, our coach said to get good fluids into our bodies. And I remember us drinking ginger ale and eating Pringles that night, and feeling like absolute garbage the next day. And then I kind of made that link. I said, maybe there's something there, because I was one of those guys who drank protein shakes, and then would fast, because I read that fasting increases growth hormone, so I have to fast for 24 hours, then crush a heavy workout, and then just drink protein shakes and refeed like crazy. That was my approach. That's what allowed me to blow up like that. Yeah. So
Wait. So in the first 6 months, you put 50 pounds of muscle on following a fasting approach to dieting and training?
Correct. Yeah. So I would do ultimately two 24-hour fasts on a weekly basis, and then when on the 24th hour of my fast, I would crush just a killer workout, and then refeed, eat like 4,000 or 5,000 calories within the next couple of hours, and that was my approach. And then throughout the week, I would eat a lot, like the pre-bed casein shakes and stuff like that, like stuff that I wouldn't even touch right now. But it was funny at that point, because that's what the bodybuilding industry was pushing on us. And then so I made that link, man. I made that link that nutrition and performance kind of go hand in hand. And I realized that, hey, there's something more, because when I was at my fittest, I was almost the most unhealthy I've ever been in terms of just like what was happening within me. So, based on my biochemistry, it's like it was high inflammation, of course. I mean, all the inflammatory proteins I was intaking, all that kind of jazz. And then, so that was my next step in discovering what's going on. So it was first was fitness and then nutrition. Then, hey, I was struggling with sleep quite a bit. I was working some night shifts on the ship, and then just developed insomnia, man. And it actually, first signs of insomnia I had when I was still in the Lithuanian military. So then I had to figure out, okay, how do I reverse that? A lot of these things, it's funny now looking back, a lot of these things actually happened really organically. So because I had to reverse my stuff that was suboptimal and not allowing me to tap into my full potential. And so I had to figure that out. And then automatically I realized that there are more people who are struggling with this. So naturally you got to help them.
Yeah, I love that. One thing you said there, where you were at your, probably your physically most fit, kind of, physical on the outside, you're probably the most unhealthy that you'd ever been. If you can, maybe talk to, some of the, the misbeliefs that are out there, or some of the things that people have wrong. You see it all the time. I mean, as somebody that spent a decade in the bodybuilding industry, I chased a physical goal, like at all costs, no, any means necessary, like chasing the ideal physique on the stage. And what most people don't realize is you see the bodybuilders, you see the fitness models on the magazine, shredded 6-pack abs, or, the super lean girl. Those people, like, they're being advertised, they're being marketed as the symbol of health. But knowing many of them, I mean, hundreds of friends in the industry, it's the complete opposite. These people usually have the worst relationship with their own health and food. They're chained to a cooler. Yeah, their libido, their hormones. So yeah, just maybe if you can, maybe talk to, some of the confusions or the misbeliefs around, the difference between fit and healthy. Like, where
Absolutely,
are people, being misled here the most?
I appreciate you bringing this up, man, because I see a lot of fit people, a lot of people who look absolutely great on the outside. But then I look at their blood biomarkers, I look at their biochemistry, inflammation is through the roof, and its triglycerides are through the roof, unhealthy or cholesterol levels and balances and ratios. The reason behind that is because looking good and feeling good are actually mutually exclusive, and being healthy and being fit are also mutually exclusive, because you can really always there's a massive difference between looking good and actually being healthy. So that's, you see, when you're in the bodybuilding industry, the food like substances that you consume, and there are so many shortcuts, and when you're going for that shoot for the magazine cover, you're dehydrated. You having that sub 5% body fat percentage, it's not healthy. And most sports, for that matter, fitness in general, and sports overall, they're not health oriented. They're performance oriented, which is great because it's entertaining to watch, right? But when it comes to, you don't need to run, I don't know, like sub 10-second 100 meters to live longer. That's not what we need. So now it was just kind of a organic transition as well for myself. I realized, okay, do I want to be a professional athlete? The answer was no. I opted out of going pro in boxing. So I realized I can make better use of my head than boxing and entertaining people. So that was just my personal choice. And I just realized that, hey, in order for us to live longer, we don't have to be super fit. Well, right now, for example, I personally don't exercise more than, I would say, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours is pushing a week. That's my like upper level. But I move a lot. I move my body. So there's, again, difference between movement and exercise. As I always say, is movement is our food, and exercise is a supplement.
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. So, one of the pillars that you walk your clients through here is obviously the mindset side of things. So what do you like, in real time, maybe kind of put your coach's hat on here. Like you get a new client that comes to you and this guy is, he's your typical like, chest Monday, back Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, shoulders Thursday. And he's like, dude, I just can't make any progress. Like, I need to work out more. How do you get your clients out of that mindset of needing 5-6 days a week of 2-hour workouts, getting them to the point where they're just okay? Because obviously there's a buy-in component. Like I got to buy into what you're teaching me in order for it to actually work. So how do you kind of have that conversation with somebody if they're coming to you and they got 10 years of the hour plus a day workouts, the 2-a-day cardio sessions? What's that conversation like between you and your clients to get them to buy into your approach here?
I ultimately unpack the root cause of why they're doing what they're doing. That's the first step for me. A real actual understanding what's the reason why they're doing it. You see, most of the things when we're talking about mindset, it's our subconscious mind. Most of our actions are driven by our subconscious, and usually there are underlying beliefs that, hey, if I look good, I'm going to be respected, I'm going to be loved, I'm going to be worthy. Or so that's your worth and your value is attached to the way you look, because it's always been like that. Sometimes you see, especially in attractive men and women, that happens quite a lot, because that's how they actually feel like they're accepted by society. Because we all have 6 basic human needs, right? If you guys haven't heard about that, heard of those, I'm going to unpack them real quick. So it's certainty. We want to know that things are going to happen, but then at the same time, we need variety. And then we have love and connection. We have significance. So us actually showing us being accepted by our tribe. And then we have growth and contribution. Those are 6 human needs, and in some shape or form, we really need them in our day-to-day life. So identifying, okay, which of the human values, main human needs, is driving you. And in those cases, it's usually significance. Why do you need that significance? And once you kind of start unpacking and peeling those layers back, it's because, when they were children, their dad ultimately only approved of them when they performed. That was the case with myself as well. It's like, so once you start peeling those layers and getting into the subconscious patterns that are driving our behavior, some of the decisions that we're making on our day-to-day are the decisions that we made when we were 5 years old. And we just never caught that. We never identified it. So actually going back through that timeline and finding that first time when that happened, it kind of clears everything after that event. So it's a beautiful part of my work that I do, and that those subconscious reprogramming and actually digging into those patterns it's very, very interesting, because there's so much stuff in there.
Yeah, let's spend some time here. This is fascinating. This is right in line with the work that that I do. In addition to the fitness, the podcast, my mission and really what I feel my calling is now is I help coach men that are struggling with porn addiction, and it's the same thing here. These actions, these behaviors, this compulsive issue is many times it's rooted in a false belief about ourselves. Yeah, it could be something trauma related, relationship you perhaps had with your dad, or relationship with a female in your life. But a lot of the work is going back and kind of reprogramming and rewiring, many of those old memories and old beliefs about ourselves. So, do you have like a practical strategy? Maybe something if somebody is hearing this right now and they're like, man, what is kind of aha moments going off? They're like, God, my beliefs about myself are holding me back. What is something that somebody can do, once they're done listening to this, or pause right now to maybe get to the root of that? And then is there something that can help them, reprogram and rewire those old beliefs about themselves?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to address, that's a great question, and I'm going to get on that in just a second. And first of all, I want to address the porn addiction component. That's absolutely fantastic work, and it's so necessary. And I'm pretty sure you have mentioned somewhere or sometime, brainonporn.com. That's what actually stopped me from just completely watching, just getting rid of that completely. Once I
Gary.
saw the effects that it had, insane.
Yeah, Gary is he's a true pioneer, and we lost him. He passed away just a few weeks ago. But I mean, absolute
Oh,
legend.
that's too bad.
In the space. I mean, his work, his website, his book, has changed. Obviously, it's changed my life, which is now transformed thousands of other guys' lives. But he is a true leader in this space. So that's amazing that you came across his work and was able to get this out of your life as well.
So powerful, man. So powerful. So back to the question, how to rewire that process is ultimately going back to the root, just asking yourself, what is it that I believe? What are the beliefs that I have? So we ultimately have a certain underlying belief about ourselves. For example, I need to be fit in order to be accepted in society. And asking yourself, which is the human need that is the most important for me? So out of those 6 that I mentioned, you can easily Google them as well. Which one of these human needs is the main driver for me? Once you identify that, you actually see yourself engaging in those behaviors and toxic behaviors in order to fulfill that need. And then the simplest way is to simply identify the alternative behavior that wouldn't be toxic, would be more conducive to your development, and actually fulfill that need through that. It really is that simple. And then because as Carl Jung said, if you're, what was it? I'm afraid to butcher this quote. If your unconscious does not become conscious, ultimately is going to ruin your life, and you will call it fate. So all those unconscious patterns, we want to unpack them, because our parents, when you want it or not, our parents, our environment, quite frankly, they fucked us up to an extent. And it's not their fault by any means. It's just they were doing best they could at the time with the tools that they had. But the fact is that they instilled certain beliefs around money, health, significant, all of these things that ultimately are driving our lives. So being as conscious as possible, and ultimately as well, right now, there's a great, amazing opportunity for you to change your life any day. Once you change your environment, not just necessarily physical, your online environment, the things that you look up. I believe Joe Dispenza wrote the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So in order to change who you are right now, you have to become someone else. And it's super uncomfortable because our brain is constantly looking for opportunities to stay in that homeostasis. But the more you put yourself, if you decide to change your identity, if you actually craft what your identity looks like, and on a daily basis actually align with that identity, you're going to be able to feed your conscious mind, and that's going to seep into your subconscious and start rewiring those patterns. So that would be a little, again, practical approach.
Yeah.
How to go with that.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously, I mean, in order for all of that to unfold and work, I mean, there's got to be a component of forgiveness. I mean, you're gonna have to forgive your parents. You kind of mentioned like all of our parents, they did the best, but every single one of us has been screwed up, and many times, we have to forgive ourselves as well. Yeah, I was uneducated on the issues with pornography for 2 decades. Like, I can't beat myself up about having my own addictions. Like, I've got to have forgiveness and got to have grace for my own self. And dude, I feel like I could spend the next 2 hours on this topic, but there's so much more I want to get into. So one more thing with these 6 basic needs here: the certainty, variety, love, connection, significance, growth, contribution. Is this operate the same way as kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Is it something that goes in stages? Are they 6 kind of all on even playing field? And each one of us kind of like, do we have stronger, needs? Like, for some people, is it more certainty as opposed to significance? Others, is it more growth? How does that kind of work with each person individually?
So growth and contribution are obviously the ones that that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those are the extra ones, if you will. Once everything else is taken care of, those kind of step in a little bit more. And first four are more, they're universal. Every single person needs those things. But as I was saying, identifying which one is the driver, which one is taking that number one spot in those human needs. So identifying that, because all of us have a dominant one. Every single
Got it.
one of us have a dominant one, for sure.
Got it. No, that's amazing. It's amazing. Let's pivot. Let's get into human optimized here a little bit. Let's talk about your coaching and your work. You have this amazing company out there and the work that you're doing with the clients. So when you talk about being an optimized human, let's just define some of these terms here. Like, what does it mean to be a human optimized, or to be an optimized human?
Mm-hmm. So you see, it's funny that I was actually reflecting upon this, that the reason why I got into this work is because, first of all, I was not optimized at all. And the realization for me was that I'm human first, and I have to accept that. I'm human first. And sometimes it's hard to accept, because you want to be superhuman. You want to be that optimized human. But the reason why it's human optimized, because I'm human first. Optimization comes after that. So that's ultimately, what does it mean to be an optimized human in general? Well, that when it comes to, I identified four main pillars. So that is our biology, and biology has subcategories as well. That is, when our biology is optimized, our sleep, our nutrition, our stress management, our movement, and our environment are taken care of. So that would be those subcategories for biology. Then leadership. How do you show up for yourself as a leader? First of all, we all are leaders. We're all leaders. You want to admit it or not, we all are. We're leading ourselves. And then how you're bringing others up. How you're leading others. So that's the second pillar. Then efficiency. I mean, most of us are effective sooner or later, but some of us run out of time. So not only want to be effective, but we also want to be efficient and accomplish our feats in a more compressed time window. So that would be the third pillar of being an optimized human. And the last one is mindset and mental health. So unpacking all of that programming, subconscious beliefs, and all the wiring that is ultimately running us. All that, I would say 95% of our whole lives are happening in the background. So rewiring the condition, rewiring the beliefs, the patterns, all the nonsense that is underneath and actually driving us in the wrong direction. Once you get that out of the way.
Got it. Yeah, love that. Love that. I wanna dive into sleep here a little bit. So I mean, obviously we have a health conscious audience. Typical audience listener here is men, somewhere between ages 30, 50. I'd say, they got it. They got the training. They're probably doing pretty well on the health and nutrition side of things. We have a pretty dominant keto audience, so they understand healthy fats and, carb cycling and whatnot. But I think one area we could, metabolic flexibility. I think one area we could really provide a lot of value here is on sleep hacks. So, talk to the importance of sleep, setting up, your environment, sleep hacks in general. Like, how can people begin to fully optimize their sleep? Because I think that's one area it's not discussed enough. People think that, they can get by with 3-4 minimal hours, throw a nap in every once in a while, not paying attention to the environment, temperature, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just open up the conversation on the importance of sleep and see if we can provide some real sleep hacks for people out there.
For sure. So sleep is crucial. Probably everybody knows it. It's just too many of us ignore it, unfortunately. And I just want to dive right in, because we all know how important it is, and that we spend so much time in bed. Might as well make it count. That's one of my. It's just logical, right? Isn't it? And then what I would start with is ultimately light. We are still human animals, so we work with the cycles of nature. What we want to do is expose ourselves to the first light in the morning, and then block as much of that artificial light as possible when the sun sets. If you do that, I guarantee, if you haven't been doing this, I guarantee you that you're going to see a massive difference in your sleep quality. For example, now I have this app on my computer called Iris. So it blocks the computer screen. My overhead lights are pretty dim here, actually. So I'm not looking into them directly. I always wear blue light blocking glasses before bed. So that also helps me block all the artificial lights, because otherwise our body registers, our brain actually registers that as a stimulant, and then it produces more cortisol, which is an antagonist hormone to melatonin, which is necessary for sleep, and then it keeps us awake. So that's the lowest hanging fruit is optimizing your light. Now, morning routine. Morning routine is absolutely crucial as well. So I start my mornings with 4 things ultimately: hydration, because we lose so much water through respiration throughout the night. Hydration is number 1. Then stepping outside and getting fresh air is number 2. Then movement, just moving my body, getting my lymph cleared by jumping on a trampoline or doing some jump rope for a minute or 2. And then number 4 is my mindset practice. So I'm actually logging. I'm gonna brag today. The day that we're talking right now, I just logged 1,000 consecutive days of meditation. So I'm really proud of that.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So that's my morning routine. And when it comes to evening routine, and then again, this kind of became so natural. When the sun sets, I have my blue light blocking software. My bedroom is for sleep and sex only. It's between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and I do not eat or exercise within about 3 to 4 hours of my bedtime. Because once again, if you're eating within that window of time before going to bed, that actually your body is not primed for sleep. It's primed for digestion. Your body's actually busy doing other work, not producing the hormones necessary for sleep. Same thing with exercise. By all means, I'd rather sleep longer than get my workout in. I'll be frank with you, because ultimately, when we're exercising close to our bedtime and our core body temperature is higher, again, that prevents us from falling asleep. So if you have an ice bath, or if you do decide to exercise later at night, make sure you're taking an ice bath before you go to bed, or a cold shower. That's something that's going to bring your core body temperature down, because that's going to allow you to get into your deep sleep stages a bit sooner. So those would be the main, just pretty low hanging fruits as well. Like, all of them are just minimal lifestyle changes that can become super easy, super quickly.
Yeah, that's great. I love the talk of light too. And you mentioned it here a little bit. I want to make sure we drive the point home. You talked about, obviously, managing light in the afternoon, making sure as the sun goes down, lights are kind of getting toned down in the house, blue light blocking glasses, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to the importance of light exposure in the morning though, because I know there's some really powerful things kind of happen with cortisol release, kind of, setting a melatonin drip for later on in the day when you're exposed to early sunlight in the AM as well. So what's the importance of getting exposed, to either, artificial red light right upon waking, or best case scenario, getting, in immediate sun exposure in the morning?
And that's the thing, man. So our eyes ultimately need a certain amount of lux. So that's the light, the light measurement. I believe it's around 100,000 lux, and in order for us to actually wake us up properly. And ideally, you'd be exposed to that as close to your wake up time as possible, because that naturally sets your circadian biology. That sets your rhythm when your body is going to be primed for waking up, and when your body's going to start getting tired. One of the things that I really discourage people from doing is, it's a habitual thing for a lot of us, I know, going for a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, because then we're ultimately training our bodies to be dependent on the exogenous substance to wake us up, when we have this internal mechanism that just needs to be exposed to some movement and sunlight in order to kickstart our system. So I'm a huge fan to wait for my first coffee, wait for about at least 90 minutes until I have my first coffee. So that has been a game changer for me personally.
Yeah, and being fully transparent here, that's something that I'm working through as we speak right now. I mean, I'm a huge coffee fan. You know, I love the flavor, I love the taste of it, and obviously I love the benefits that you get from caffeine. But I've uh, conditioned and trained myself that alarm clock goes off, you know, the coffee pot's already set. Literally, like I make it the night before, walk into the kitchen, boom, kind of get it set while I do some of my other routine. But I'm getting to my coffee, you know, somewhere between the first 20 to 30 minutes of the morning. And I know that's not the best thing for me. So literally just this past week, I've tried that 90 minutes. Like, let me get my first 90 minutes of the morning in, and then let me introduce the coffee. So I'm working through the transition right now. It's been a little bit difficult, kind of kicking the habit, but I'll get there. You know, I understand the value and importance of it.
Actually, for the audience and yourself, I recommend to replace coffee with occasionally. So one of the things that I do is a coffee fast, last 5 days of the month. It's ultimately to reset my caffeine tolerance and metabolism. And at this point, my body's used to it, so I don't have headaches or anything like that. But first couple of months, it can be a little bit tough, but then it allows you to reset it. And I'm a huge fan of yerba mate. So instead of that caffeine spike that you get, yerba mate it's a tea. I believe it originates from Argentina. It has the active compound called matein, and that matein has a bit of a slower spike, and the crash is not as heavy. So I would recommend people actually mess with that a little bit. And also, at this point, probably most of us are aware that theacrine or theanine with coffee actually also slows down the release of caffeine into our system.
Yeah, I actually stacked the theacrine with some alpha GPC. Not every day, but especially when I need some focus work, some focus projects. Definitely going to try out that tea. You know, I did a 60-day fast from caffeine back in 2019, and the first week or two was pretty tough. Winding myself off of it, but by the end of 2 months, like, I didn't miss it. Like, I actually felt better. And then when I reintroduced it, like, I was able to reintroduce it in very small doses, and it was like the first time you take any drug, it's like this most amazing feeling. That's what I experienced back in 2019. So I like the idea of the 5 days out of the month. I got to do something because I'm catching myself needing it more than I know that I should. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. That's why I love doing these things, because it really opens up glaringly things in your own life that you need to work on.
Oh, it's a great reminder as well. Yeah, man. Some things sometimes what that I teach and my clients are going through. It's like, oh shit, I actually forgot about this week. Thank you for reminding me. Let's do this together. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because when we're working with people sometimes see us as superhumans or someone who just does not fall off the wagon ever. No, we do. We do all the freaking time. The difference is that we just recover so quickly that you can barely see it. And that's the only difference. It's just that window of time of recovery. And I used to guilt trip myself. I used to beat myself up for things like that. Now there's no such thing. It's like the thoughts come up. But because of my meditation practice and all the work that I've done, I observe those thoughts, dissolve them. All right, we're moving on.
Yeah, well, you said it with the title of your company. At the core of this and the foundation for all of us is we're humans. Humans are flawed. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make errors. What's maybe separating you and I, and we're 80 episodes in. One thing I think the biggest takeaway from all of these podcasts, all these conversations that I've had, it's the people that are winning, the quote unquote experts, or the ones that are, coaching and adding value to the world. They're just taking their own journeys, their own experiences, and then they're sharing it with the world. Like, we're not the know-it-alls. We're not the, the superheroes or we're superhuman, because that's the title of the podcast, but we're just experiencing and sharing what's working for us, what doesn't work, mistakes we've made, the victories, the wins that we've had. So with that, you talked about, and you shared this, like, you're an experimenter kind of on yourself, like this biohacking, like it's self-experimentation. Has there been anything where you've tried or experimented with where you immediately upon doing it, or like a week goes by and you're like, oh shit, like I'm a little bit worried about what I tested there? just curious with, sometimes this biohacking thing can kind of get a little crazy. Have you experienced anything like that with yourself, where you're just a little worried?
I actually had never been too worried about it. It was just more of a, hey, this is taking up way too much of my time, so that is actually subtracting from my life rather than adding to it. Because now at this point, for example, if I'm quote unquote biohacking, I'm actually stacking multiple modalities at the time. If I'm going to a hyperbaric chamber, at the same time I'm going to get some work done. I'm going to have some photobiomodulation devices. I'm going to have other stuff going on. So I'm actually stacking those biohacking practices so I can actually benefit from them rather than investing extra time and having that rate of diminishing returns. Because at a certain point, it just stops mattering, quite frankly.
Got it. Got it. So nothing that's been like ultimately scary. What would you say has been the one thing maybe you've implemented or tried that's had the biggest return on investment? Because I think what you said there, it's an ROI component to these hacks. So what's been the one thing, small or little, that you've done that's had the biggest return on your health and personal optimization?
I would say that's definitely meditation by far. I would say that's not quite a biohack, but we'll talk about other biohacks. Like if we were to just take the actual biohack, I would say cryotherapy. Cryotherapy is amazing. I'm fortunate to have access to it and do it pretty much on a daily basis if I choose to. And that's something that is a great, just that exposure first thing in the morning when you just really, that's the last thing that you would ever want to do. And you just step in that chamber of negative 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and you become into you turn into the superhuman because, hey, you're exposing yourself to something that really sucks first thing in the morning. And you know that whatever comes for the rest of the day is probably likely going to be less unpleasant than that that first experience of the day. So I would actually encourage a lot of people. That's why I would encourage taking cold showers in the morning, because you're exposing yourself to something uncomfortable, something that is outside of your comfort zone, and really you really don't want to do that. But once you do that, you know that whatever comes after that, it ain't gonna be that bad.
Yeah, I say all the time, you find yourself like having difficulty doing hard things, like, making the extra phone call, starting the business, writing the report, whatever the case may be. If it's something hard and you find yourself putting it off, you just can't get through it. Start seeking out the hard things every single day. So, you said you have access to a cryo. I mean, not everybody is going to, I think they're, $60,000 chambers, but you would say, cold showers would be kind of the at-home, replacement for that, like something, people. So that's the mindset side of things that we're getting from doing it. What are the physiological benefits? What's happening to us, internally from exposing ourselves to the cold?
And so our skin is also forming the neurons that are protecting itself. So it's producing more collagen. It's actually increasing the mitochondrial density. So our skin is getting tighter. We're getting healthier. The muscles are actually recovering faster as well. It's just the myriad of benefits. It's just not just mindset, but physiological ones as well. So if you do have access to that, again, and alternatives. So cold showers, cold baths, cryotherapy, any of those modalities are really fantastic for your nervous system as well. Additionally, that's something for physiologically for fat loss. If you're actually shivering, you're inducing that response for fat loss. If you're actually suppressing that shiver response, you're training your central nervous system. You're developing your vagus nerve, increasing that vagal tone. So that's going to transfer into your day-to-day life as well.
Let's talk about your nutrition here real quick. We talked at the beginning here a little about fasting, the importance, how you were able to fast to build 50 pounds of muscle. Still kind of blown away with that whole part of your story and transformation. But what's your diet like now? I mean, are you carnivore? Are you a keto? Are you, carb cycling? Just kind of what's your approach and take on nutrition, and how have you built that kind of into your lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. So, man, I actually call myself a nutritional agnostic, and that's something that I don't identify with any dietary camp at this point. I tried it all. I tried carnivore for a little bit. I was full on keto. I was vegan for over a year. I went through the whole cycle because, as I said, I'm an experimenter, so I had opportunities to mess with that. And And now at this point, I stick to just fundamental foundational principles, and eat real food. Pretty heavy on the, I would say, animal product side, because like the nutrient density per ounce per pound is usually the highest. And based on my nutritional biochemical individuality, it's just one of the things that works for me. So I would say I would eat quite a bit of organ meat on a weekly basis. So beef heart, beef liver. That's one of the things that I incorporate into my diet at least twice a week. Then highish fat, highish protein in the morning to keep my blood sugar stable. In the afternoon, I introduce quite a few carbohydrates. I love fruit. That's one of those things that is just that's kind of nature's candy. I really enjoy blueberries. I love this. In Bali, we have snake fruit. I'm addicted to those. They're so good. We have snake fruit, dragon fruit. These tropical amazing fruit that I just don't want to say no to. I don't want to cut it out. And occasionally, I would also have, or not occasionally, actually pretty often, I would have whole food desserts, the ones that are made from, again, high quality ingredients, and I have no problem with that either. So as I said, it's just that agnostic approach to nutrition. I feel like sometimes people feel like it's more important to identify with a given dietary camp and actually see what's going on in their bodies biochemically and moving towards that. Because nobody cares if you're vegan, carnivore, or what have you, if you feel like shit and you're not healthy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and going back to the six basic needs, six basic human needs. There's probably something to significance there. If I feel I can attach myself to a nutrition camp, if I can attach myself to a diet, there's a tribe of people that all kind of have the same beliefs about myself, then maybe I find significance in that tribe, in that community. And obviously, we could talk a lot. Maybe we could hold another podcast on the dangers of that, but I think you would agree with that analysis there as well. What about supplements? What are some of the key supplements that people need? The primary ones that you need to make sure you're getting these boxes checked.
Mm-hmm. I take quite a few, but if you actually to check the boxes, I would say fat soluble vitamins. That's what people don't really get enough. That would be A, D, E, and K. And taking those on a daily basis, especially vitamin D. Most of the population is low on vitamin D. Then I would say iodine is fairly low amongst our population. Magnesium is another mineral that is just responsible for so many enzymatic reactions within our bodies. So that would be a crucial one. And other stuff that is a bit less known in the just general population, it would be quercetin, pterostilbene. Those are antioxidants, anti-aging compounds. Then L-carnosine, that's a great one as well. And that would be the gist of it, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and incredible, brother. So much information, so much value in this podcast, guys. Everything we've shared, everything we've talked about, I'll make sure to have the notes on there, and any links for anything. So AJ, as we bring it to a close, I got one final question I want to ask you here at the end. We just close up every podcast with, but where can people find you? Where can they learn more about your coaching? Who is your coaching for? Maybe there's somebody that's hearing this and is kind of curious, like, is what AJ's doing for me? So who's your coaching serving, and then where can people connect with you online or socially these days?
Mm-hmm. So human.optimized on Instagram is the easiest way to access me. I'm pretty active on Instagram in general. I share quite a lot information, and you can just easily connect with me. I'm pretty responsive. If it's not going to be me, it's going to be my assistant. So I will definitely have a conversation. And mostly I work with executives. I work with entrepreneurs and executives. However, I have an amazing coaching network. So if you come to me and I cannot help you, I'm going to refer you to my colleagues who I can really trust, because over the years I'm lucky to have that network and have had developed those relationships so that I can actually trust and send people to know that they're going to be taken care of. Another thing that I would highly recommend, we talked about meditation. As I said, if I was to give one gift to the world, that would be meditation. The company that I stepped in for recently, the Yogi Lab, we run free meditation retreats every month from the 11th till 22nd of every month, and it's vipassanaonline.com. I would highly recommend you try it out. Maybe you can't do, most of us cannot do 10 days in silence without any exposure to the real world, but you have options to where you can do a workplace warrior where you only have to do 2 hours a day, I believe, and that's going to give you a good foundation to meditate and actually master your mind. It's a beautiful practice, and I would highly recommend it. And another thing actually that is coming out soon is human optimization coaching certification. So all the knowledge, all the resources that I've accumulated throughout the years of experimenting with myself while learning from others, that's something that we're launching hopefully by the end of this year. So that's going to be a human optimization coaching certification, and you can just shoot a message. And if you go to yogilab.com, there is a wait list where you can sign up to. So I threw a lot at you. So those are all the places that you can
find. Yeah. I got all the notes here. I think we're gonna go over just a bit if you don't mind, because I think I missed this part in preparing for this. Talk to me about these 10-day silent. Do you say 10-day silent retreats?
Correct. Yeah, that's something that I do. Actually, one more thing that I did not mention is fasting. So back to nutrition for a second. 3 times, 5 days, I do this fasting mimicking protocol where the protein is super low. I eat like 300-400 calories, and it suppresses the mTOR pathway, which is the anabolic and aging pathway, and that tricks my body into thinking that it's actually in the fast. Sometimes I do water. Those are more tough. If I'm more active and I can't commit to a water fast, I just do the fast mimicking. So that's 3 times a year. Having a 24-hour fast a few times a month, that every single person could benefit from that. Kind of give your digestive system some rest.
Yeah, we use a lot of fasting. I mean, obviously for the digestive, benefits, side effects, the physiological side effects. There's a spiritual component, I believe, that we get from fasting. So it's a big part of the coaching that we do here. All of our clients go through a 2-day, 48-hour water only fast in the early stages of the program, and then we do a 24-hour fast once a week in the coaching that we're specifically doing. But really curious if you could talk about the 10-day silent retreats.
For sure, man. That's something so I've done all kinds of plant medicine journeys and healing protocols and other modalities, but nothing has ever been as powerful as that 10-day silent meditation retreat. By far. So ultimately, you're meditating for 12 to 40 or 12 to 16 hours on a daily basis. You're in a seated position, and you're actually not just a seated position, but mainly in a seated position. And what happens is you're developing your sensory acuity, your ability to feel this beat suit, because all the trauma, all the information is stored in our bodies. So once you actually develop that sensory acuity, you're able to unpack those layers, again, those subconscious patterns that are usually stored in our bodies. And the experiences that I couldn't call them anything else but mystical experiences that you get to in silence. It's like, it feels like you're losing your mind, which you are. And it's a great thing sometimes to actually lose your mind. So you're unpacking, undoing all the conditioning. It's like my mentor says that, hey, our mind is like a dog. If we don't train it, it's gonna shit everywhere, right? So we're ultimately training our mind to be able to actually focus on one thing, develop that sensory acuity, and take it anywhere in our body and see what's happening in there.
Would this be like an extended sensory deprivation tank? Like, would it be like floating for 10 days at a time?
Ultimately, that's pretty much it. It's like you're actually experiencing. Again, you're retraining your body and your mind to go away from the patterns that you used to, and undoing the conditioning, the however many years you accumulated of conditioning, you're able to unpack it and undo it. And those 10 days are just so far, you just learn so much about yourself. It's insane. So I would highly, highly recommend it. If not, if you can't do full 10 days in silence, as I said, just get a taste for it. You're going to understand more about your mind, about your maybe trauma that it might pop up, and just answers that you get. It's just so many light bulb moments. It's insane.
Yeah, and learning to enjoy spending time with yourself. What's the old saying? Like, if you don't enjoy, being by yourself, you're in bad company, or something along those lines. Like we have to live with ourselves for the rest of our lives. Like, if we don't enjoy our own company, then we should go back and try to unpack and figure out why. Exactly. Figure out why, like, and how can you enjoy anybody else's as well. So it's definitely something. Brother AJ, this has been absolutely amazing. I mean, I feel like I could just talk to you for hours. We may have to schedule a second one down the road in the future, but I'm incredibly fortunate and blessed to have connected with you. Like I told you, we've been friends on Facebook for I don't know how long, but glad your assistant reached out, and glad we were able to connect here. And I appreciate you staying up late and walking with us while we had this conversation. So one question that we end every single podcast here with, obviously, AJ, the title of the show is The Superhuman Life. How we got here, how I got to, really launching this podcast was a result of kind of my own personal story, my own, journey. But what it comes down to when I talk about living a superhuman life, for me, it's a belief system. It's a way of living. It's a way of life. It's understanding that we are human first, and we were put on this earth for a very specific purpose. Each one of us has a unique set of gifts and something to offer to the world, and then it's our job and purpose to bring that to life and to serve it to the world. So that's the faith part. And then secondly, it's the fitness. You talked about this meat suit, like we were given this one body, this one vessel to experience in this life through. So it's up to us to fully optimize using your terminology. So that's what I really talk about, understanding belief and then doing everything we can within our power to bring that belief to life. So that's how I define living a superhuman life. But I like to get the guest here take at the end of every show. So AJ, as we bring it home here today, how would you define living a superhuman life?
Man, living a superhuman life is simply being curious and asking yourself better questions. If you don't like the meat suit that you're in right now, if you don't like the life that you're living right now, it means that you simply need to be more curious and ask yourself better questions. And one of my favorite questions to ask, I have it on my phone as a reminder, is what don't I see? And another one that is a good one on top of that is, what am I pretending not to see? So just asking those two questions, that's a great place to start. And then sitting in meditation with that, oh man, you're gonna unpack some demons, and then actually being brave to sit with those demons, because we all have them. It's just the difference is some of us are sweeping those under our rugs, and others actually face it and overcome them. So face your demons, ask better questions, become the superhuman.
Powerful, brother. I think that's right where we ended, guys. You heard it here. Ask yourself better questions. If your life is not unfolding the way that you want it to, you're the only one that's going to fix it. You're the only one that's going to take back control. So ask yourself those questions, and then sit in and meditate upon those answers that are sent to you. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop us a comment down there below. What did you get out of today's conversation? And for those of you listening on the audio side, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Podbean, whatever platform you're on, help us continue to grow this message by sharing this conversation with somebody in your life that needs to hear this. And more importantly, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to leave us that 5-star rating and written review. But for AJ from Human Optimized, Frank Rich of Superhuman Life, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.